Hello, friends.
Hey, everybody.
Welcome to another episode of May Myths
hmm
with us at Powerful Love.
hmm
If this is your first time tuning in, my name is Dr. Jenny Wallig,
And I'm Calvin O'Seeley.
and we are the founders of Powerful Love Relationships.
Yeah.
And we are on a mission to create more joy, ease, and fulfillment in your relationships by helping to revolutionize the way that you think about problems, their solutions, and what it means to love.
No, absolutely.
And so this month, we are talking about some common misconceptions that people have about different aspects of love and relationships.
Yeah.
Misconceptions that we call myths and
Yep.
that we are here to bust for y'all.
Yeah. So this is week 3 already
Mm-hmm.
of our myth-busting May.
Yeah.
Our first one was on what? Conflicts
Mm-hmm.
and
Conflict is a sign that your relationship is having a problem.
yes.
Our
And last week
was on
was
communication is the problem.
yes.
Not true.
Communication. Yeah, that's a common misconception.
Mm-hmm.
Communications issues. So if you
Mm-hmm.
didn't see those, definitely jump back or ask us. We can drop you the link.
Mm-hmm.
But this week, the myth that we want to bust is that it's still around conflict, kind of similar to week 1, where many of us are operating from this belief that every argument or problem
Mm-hmm.
in your relationship has some sort of solution.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a matter of finding it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like, you have a problem in your relationship, you want to resolve it. We talk about having unresolved problems,
Yep.
unresolved issues, and that bears this assumption that the problems that you have solutions, you just haven't found them yet.
Yeah, and often, like in the work that we do, I often get if they're a cis-het couple, the male version of the couple, who is often very solution-oriented.
Mm-hmm.
Their initial response to even like an expression of emotion is, okay, how do I solve it?
Mm-hmm.
Not
Mm-hmm.
even just like validating that there are emotions about the thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's immediately going into solution and fix it mode.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're here to challenge this idea that there is even a solution to search for,
Mm-hmm.
or and help you sort of understand where the energy in solution is like better placed.
Mm-hmm. Right. And so this is really important, of course, because when you feel like there should be a solution to your problems or your challenges in your relationship and you haven't found one yet,
Mm-hmm.
and then the challenges keep coming up again and again and again, it's really disheartening, right? Like you start to feel frustrated and resentful and build this story of, we're having this problem that we can't get past and we're just stuck, and the fact that you're stuck and haven't solved the problem yet becomes a problem in and of itself, right? And it can add these layers of suffering and unhappiness in our relationships when we're under this impression that there's supposed to be a solution here.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing that we see happening a lot is that when people start to move into the experience or the sense that there may not be a solution to this problem,
Mm-hmm.
they conclude that there must not be compatible in their relationship.
Yeah.
Right? That like, okay, if there's no solution to this problem, then I guess we can't be together.
Mm-hmm.
And so that too creates, understandably, a lot of pain and suffering and a lot of breakups that may not necessarily need to happen.
Mm-hmm.
Which may seem contradictory as we're talking, well, if there's no solution to problems, I just have to live with the problem? Like, no.
Right.
Well, then isn't there a solution? No. So
Right.
hang in there with us because we're gonna get to that.
Yeah.
So do you want to share the next piece?
Oh, okay, yeah. So like why so if there is no solution to the problem, then let's just talk about why that is the case. And so I think most people in the relationship, if you've ever sought help for your relationship. You've probably heard of John Gottman and the work that he's done with his and his wife's Gottman Institute. But in their research of thousands of couples, coincidentally here in the Seattle-ish area, they came to determine that 69% of all the conflicts that couples face, roughly, are unresolvable issues. So these are really coming from like the ways in which you're both personally different. So like those are less likely to change.
Yeah. When we talk about or think about solutions, it's like we want something that makes the problem not be a problem anymore.
Yep.
Right? Something that like solves it, and so that it no longer exists. And when we're talking about like making a shift into unsolvable problems, the majority, right, 69%, nearly like 2/3 of the problems that most couples have are unsolvable. What that means is that like there's no finality to it. There is no like end game solution that's going to make this problem not exist between you two anymore.
Right.
So what does that mean then? Right? Like if well, actually I want to ask that question, but first I just want to say that when we talk to couples about this idea, sometimes they get really disheartened.
Yeah.
Right?
It's a little deflating moment. Like, oh shit.
I really was hoping that there would be an answer, a solution to my problems. And now you're telling me that like most of them are not going to have solutions. I'm just going to have to deal with this the rest of my life.
Sort of.
And so if you're having that experience, you're not alone.
Yeah.
What I want to, offer is a bit of a shift in your orientation to it, right? Because this is actually good news. It means that the fact that you haven't found a solution yet isn't inherently problematic. And it means that you just have to switch your tactic in navigating this challenge of your relationship, right? From like problem solving and fixing it,
problem orientation, just in general, that like this is a thing that is a problem, right? Yeah, shifting just that there aren't problems,
right? And that
there's no problems.
Yes, that this doesn't have to be a problem.
Just a difference.
It's a difference between us. It's something that we don't share the same beliefs about, something we don't agree upon, different ways that we see the world.
Yeah, different life experience and backgrounds, origins, stories, whatever it is.
And it certainly shows up and affects the relationship that you have together.
Yeah.
But when you're coming from this energy of this is just another way that we're different, then you can move into what does that mean and how do we want to navigate it together? So this is a totally different energy place from like, how do we want to solve this problem to how do we want to navigate this difference between us? Now you're coming like on the same page, you're working together, you're getting creative in terms of like, what are the foundational needs? And like, how can this look? How do we make space for one another, as opposed to one person having to be right, one person having to be wrong, which often happens when we're like trying to solve a problem. Right. It just creates so much more opening for how your relationship can evolve and how you can love one another for the unique and wonderfully different person that your partner is.
Which, you can consider all of that, right, as the solution. That's the approach to dealing with the problems.
Right. So it's like the yes and. Like, is there a solution to your problems? Yes. The solution is to shift your perspective on whether it's a problem. See it as just a difference between us, an aspect of our relationship that isn't maybe what either of us would ideally prefer, and something that we can work together to navigate. And that's going to open up so much more power and possibilities for you, as opposed to like, I need to solve this problem. I need to make it go away. I may need to make it not be a thing between us anymore. Right?
Yeah. And, one thing that struck me in just kind of thinking about this topic today primarily because we're going to be on a podcast soon about sort of like better together. What makes the two of us better together? And what came up for at least me, I think both of us.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Was that, and it's so weird though, right? What makes us better together is actually the ways in which we're different. Newsflash. And that's probably going to be the same for you all as well. If you and when you can learn how to navigate differences and like make space for differences and recognize that like your problems are differences. That it can actually become this thing that was so problematic, so destructive or corrosive to your relationship. And now it becomes like the super strength. The special ability that like the two of you combined like bring to the world. That's freaking crazy.
And the catalyst for like some of the most important growth and healing work that you're going to do. Right? Is like figuring out how you can make space for those differences. Can you imagine the world we would live in if everybody was like so much better at making space for people who are different, who they didn't agree with, and knowing how to love them anyway? Like, mind blown.
Sign me up. Where's that place?
Right? Like, and but it starts with you, my friend. It starts with you and your relationship. Certainly, like when Cal and I started our relationship, our differences were 100% a problem. I was too serious. He didn't take anything seriously enough. I was too emotional. He was too emotionally stunted.
She wanted to live on the East Coast. I wanted to live on the West Coast.
I was white. He was black. Right. Which wasn't, and like we didn't have bias necessarily against our racial backgrounds, but like
big difference.
I didn't get his experience as a black person in the world. And he had some understandable reservations about being in a long-term committed relationship with a white person who didn't get it. Right. So like, and that's just the surface, right? There were so many other differences between us that showed up and in the way that we communicated and what we thought we wanted in our life, and like how we solved problems, how we dealt with our emotions, how we engaged with our families of origin. I mean, how we wanted to travel. I remember the first time Cal told me that he would never go camping again. I was in the middle of like a 3-month road trip living out of my car and camping every night. And I was like,
what?
He won't ever go camping with me?
I was so scarred from the military.
How is that ever going to work? I can't be in a relationship with someone that I can never go camping with. I mean, it was like, it seems so silly looking back on it now. And
we were silly.
And like it felt really real. And for him, there was like
a real compatibility.
Vehement like resistance. Like, no, you are not getting. I have done that, and I am done. I will never again. Don't even ask me. Don't bother. And I was like, so you won't even consider it?
Well,
we can't even talk about it.
We have since gone camping thrice.
Yeah, we've been camping.
So, but yeah.
But back then, it was not even a consideration. But the funny thing is, right, when you like accept when you accept your partner's differences and like let them know that they're okay and lovable just how they are, that who they are isn't inherently problematic for you, that they and their personalities or their beliefs aren't something that needs to be fixed or solved.
Their desires to not camp.
Right. Their desires to not camp, their religious or spiritual beliefs, their political beliefs. I mean, like this can get really deeply rooted in our sense of self, right? A desire for children, a desire to retire early and travel the world as opposed to like stay home. Some of these differences that show up in couple relationships, like they really do have a big impact on your relationship. And I'm not saying that sometimes those differences don't mean that your relationship isn't going to work.
Yes.
Sometimes it does. Sometimes you have to make that decision. Yes. One person monogamous, one person polyamorous. Sometimes that can work, but a lot of the times the monogamous person decides that like, I
actually am monogamous.
I don't want to be in that kind of relationship structure. But that's not like an absolute, right? It's not like a black and white. the important question that I want to invite you all to like take with you is, how can we be together in spite of these differences?
Mhm.
How can we have a relationship that is fulfilling to us both, even though we are different in these ways?
Mhm.
Right? And now your brain starts to get into creativity,
Yes.
like those creative, inspired ideas, not to solve the problem, but for like navigating this together.
Yeah, to move it more towards the thing that you want.
Right, which is to love each other, to be
Mhm.
happy, to be okay in who you are. Um, and I think the point I was trying to get to that I may have missed is just to say that like most people are not open to changing or being influenced or softening their position or compromising or camping until they feel fully accepted in who they are, fully loved, fully supported, good enough, like valuable and special and
Mhm.
worthwhile to be in relationship with, even though you have these differences. And when you can create that safety, because I think that's what really shifted for us.
Yeah.
Um,
And shifts for a lot of people, a lot of
right.
the couples we work with. Yeah.
Yes. And then suddenly these problems, like they don't, not only do they no longer feel so problematic, but now there's like a more willingness to like bend or flex
Mhm.
or play in a space or consider alternatives that maybe you or your partner were
Wouldn't.
really resistant to before.
Mhm.
It's such a beautiful thing, this transformation that happens when you can stop seeing your problems as problems
Mhm.
and see them instead as those differences and as gifts, resources, and
Opportunities.
opportunities for your relationship to get creative, to grow, to evolve, for you to work through some of your own stuff that might be coming up in the face of that difference.
Yeah.
Um, and that's one of the greatest gifts that your relationship can give you. Like Cal said, it can become your superpower.
Yeah, it seriously. I giggled about it in thinking about it.
Mm-hmm.
How just ironic that is.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. This is something to really get good at, because if John Gottman's findings, like they are applicable for such a wide variety of couples in so many different stages of their lives. Like
Mhm.
the Gottman Research Institute has just done phenomenal work studying marriages, studying relationships, studying what makes people successful and why people break up. And his findings are worth paying attention to. And this is
Mhm.
really one of them. Like, if the majority of the issues that you and your partner are going to have
You can't.
are not going to have
Yeah, it's not a
solutions,
solution.
then get really good. Like, it is in your best interest to get really good at seeing and understanding those problems
Mhm.
as not problems, and like just shifting your perspective about it and start looking at like how do
Mhm.
we navigate this together? How do we make space for both of this? How do we um stay in relationship
Mhm.
and in a loving space with one another, given this thing
Yeah.
that can sometimes activate us or create tension between us?
Yeah. It also turns out that we have developed some frameworks and processes around the how.
Yes. Yes, if you're like stuck on the how, that's actually
Yeah.
where we
Like
shine.
if you take the questions that Jenny just asked and you're pondering how and you're like, well, I don't fucking know. We can help you with that.
Mhm,
Like we do know a little bit of the how
mhm,
and are fairly skilled at helping you to identify and like develop the house.
mhm. Yeah, I would say more than fairly skilled.
Okay, well, yeah, sorry, I was doing my humble brag.
Yeah, and so we want to invite you, if you're still hanging in there with us and know that you want to be able to move through some of the problems or challenges that you've been having in your relationship in a more powerful way,
Mhm.
that frees your energy, that like creates more connection and ease in your relationship,
Yeah.
then we want you to have like schedule a conversation with us. Let us know so we can work with you to help like evaluate what it might take to move through those problems. Um, we are offering custom packages right now
Yeah.
that we call our power through packages, which are specifically for couples who have a particular challenge or struggle that they're getting stuck in and want to just like move through that quickly and powerfully. Do you want to share a little bit about how the packages work?
Well, I mean, sure. They're pretty flexible.
Mhm.
Is really how they work. So, if you've talked to us previously, we talked about kind of our program and the structure around that. But in this case, this is almost like a mix and a match
Mhm.
sort of situation. So we have a lot of different ways or like modalities in which we support couples, whether through individual sessions, the couple to couple, so the two of us with the two of you,
Mhm.
um, intensives and varying lengths of time, as brief as like 1 to 2 hours, as long as like an entire weekend. We could do that on location. We could do it somewhere relaxing, retreat style.
Mhm.
Also offering stuff like pocket support, have us in your pocket to text message.
Mhm.
Access to our private community
Mhm.
where you have access to other people who are doing the same kind of work. So
Plus I'll add like we in these packages we curate a set of
yeah.
courses and curriculum that are going to be most powerful and helpful for the particular thing that you're struggling with.
Exactly. And the real goal is to, number one, get clear on what it is you want to work on, where you've been stuck, and
Mhm.
then create the support that you need to get past that, and however it looks,
Mhm.
with the different ways in which we support.
Mhm. And timeline is flexible too, right? Like we can work together in as short a period of time as, like Cal said, a weekend,
Mhm.
um, up to a year. So it really depends. Like our goal is to ensure that you're getting the support that you need for the relationship experience that you want to be having,
Mhm.
and we're gonna walk alongside with you for that journey, however that can look. And we want to get creative about making sure that it's exactly what you need.
Yeah.
So these packages start at $3,333.
Yeah. Unless you've already worked with us, have been a client of ours, in which case we'll start somewhere around um whatever 4 ones is.
Okay,
1,111.
1,111.
My brain's like, oh, that's hard to say.
I like your brain.
I know. It's so fun sometimes. Unpredictable.
Uh-huh. So just to be clear though, like we don't work with every couple.
Yeah.
And it's really important for you to check in with yourself to see if, before you even reach out, if you're a good fit for the work that we do.
Mhm.
What's most important for us in working with couples is that you come in the door already highly committed to your relationship.
Yeah.
You may be struggling and even on the brink of divorce, and that's okay. And the idea is that in your heart of hearts,
Mhm.
you know that you would prefer not
Yeah.
to leave the relationship. You know that you want to be with your partner or your spouse. You just like you don't know if you can hang
You
in
don't
there
know
any
how.
longer. You don't know how it's going to work. But it's the knowing, the
Mhm.
deciding, like this is my person. I want it to work. I just don't know if it can. I don't know how.
Yeah.
That's okay to not know, but the knowing that you want the person, that has to be kind of foundationally in place.
Yeah.
Um, the other thing is that you have to be ready to do the work.
Mhm.
You have to be ready to like invest the time, the energy, the resources to really prioritize your relationship and apply
Mhm.
what you're learning to actually do and be different in order to get different results. Working with us is not a program where you just like sit back and talk about your problems and we listen to you. This is not
No.
therapy. This is a very active, intensive program, any of the work that we do, where
Mhm.
we hold you to a high level of accountability. We support you in a high level way, and we really um, take a powerful stand for your relationship. But
Mhm.
we need you to like stand alongside us and be active in the change process that you're looking for.
Yeah.
We don't change by just wanting to and talking about our problems. We
No.
change by changing.
Yeah. Putting attention intention and
And
effort
mhm,
into it.
mhm,
That's it.
mhm.
Straight up.
So if that sounds like what you're ready for, because you know that you want something more and better in your relationship, you want these problems to not feel like problems anymore,
Mhm.
then just
Well, not just that. Not just
not just
just
not problems,
not
but
problems.
gifts.
Freaking your superpower. Like
Yes.
honestly, that's what can happen.
Yes. If you're ready for your problems to become your power, get a hold of us.
Yeah.
Just send us a DM. Let us know that you're interested in working with us. We'll ask you a few questions to make sure if you're a good fit, and
Mhm.
we'll take it from there.
Yeah. Have a great weekend.
Yeah, and thanks for
Thanks for
tuning
tuning in.
in.
Bye.